Hi guys. I'm going to continue the theme of autistic symptoms and then also things that coincide with autism and some's not well known. Just want to clarify that. Just out of the shower, so I'm still a bit wet. Luckily, I don't have much hair to worry about, but um, make sure not to get the laptop wet. We were in swimming just before it started raining. Alfie got in as well and started swimming, which I'm really happy about. We got him his C stick, so we're going to throw that into him every time, and I'm hoping that he'll continue because he was actually excited to get in the water today. And it's the first time I've seen him so happy to get in, which is really good. Um, but yeah, I do enjoy swimming. It makes me feel better when I get out. But this is actually a video I really want any autistic people to comment on. So please, please comment on it if you resonate with this because I made a short video on it before, and I like to make short videos because I feel like it reaches more people. But I'm also cautious of the fact that if I make a short video, I can't go into as much detail about it. And this is something I really wanted to dive deep into. And ironically, all I can find on it is a Reddit post. But I do feel like it was a eureka moment when I found it. And that is the subject of autistic indifference. So you'll see it when I put the post up, but for me, and I've said it before, it's the worst symptom of autism. It's the most frustrating one, and I'm actually so relieved I can finally put a label on it, which I talk about hating labels and whatever. But autism is a neurological developmental disorder. In that you think differently to people, so it's neurodivergent as opposed to you're wrong or there's something inherently flawed about you. Um, it's just the world we live in, and a lot of autistic people find it hard to function, and I understand why completely. Um, and obviously, there are some people who are severe in their symptoms and need assistance doing the most basic things. But for those of us who appear normal in everyday life and are trying to go about our business, autistic indifference is something that I feel really applies to me, and it's something that really pisses me off. And I'm glad to say that I'm not the only person who has it. Basically, what it is, what I call it anyway, and my special term for it is wishing you gave a fuck. So I wish I was more passionate about stuff. Like I gave a shit about stuff a lot more. But I don't a lot of times. Even stuff that I've loved or done since I was a kid, like played rugby, it becomes too much of a challenge. Too much of I can't be arsed. Everything becomes too challenging. Eventually, it just grinds on you. You start new things with a lot of hope. And I mean, to a degree, lots of people do. I get that. But it's like every hobby starts with so much enthusiasm. You know what I mean? Just going to pause this for a second and like, let Alfie in. He's very demanding. um, he'll wait for you, then he'll pause, then he'll wait again, then he'll just sit there and won't come in. You'll be like, "You coming in?" Want you to make a fuss over him. Retrievers are the best. But yeah, so indifference is like you wish you could give a fuck, but you don't. You pretend you're passionate about stuff, and I've done this so many times. Like people say, "Oh, Dan loves rugby, loves the game," and that's true, like to a large degree. But playing it can just weigh on me so much where I couldn't be arsed to go and train. I used to think, "Oh yeah, training, it's what I've always done." I don't know how I managed to fake it for so long. I literally faked enjoying it for 20 years. What I preferred most was going out drinking afterwards. The social element of it was great for me. Um, and that's why I loved alcohol so much and love alcohol still, because even if it makes me feel sad the next day or next week, even, it makes me feel something. It makes me feel great in the time when I'm drinking it. And then afterwards, I still feel great. So it gives me that little feeling that I need, um, which I guess is why it was so appealing to me. But you see people with goals, like getting a girlfriend. driving, getting a nice car, getting a nice house. Those are all things I didn't give a shit about. I never planned that far ahead. I never cared really. I have trouble like pretending I give a shit. They're like, this is my dream job. I'd love it. I fake a lot of things to, appear normal and to fit in with everybody else's idea of how I should feel. Like I don't run around the forum on Reddit, but I feel like it's important to clarify what it's like for me and then to show you how these people relate. And I haven't read through all of them. So we're going to see some of them. I haven't read most of them. I have. Um, but it was like the Eureka moment that I'm not alone. And some of it could be down to depression, but there's a part at the end that says my partner has depression too and doesn't experience the same thing. They still have goals. It's just like difficulty achieving them. You know what I mean? So I do think it's something that causes a lot of pain because you look and you think, do I really want this? What do I actually want? I don't know. Yeah. I've never wanted a fancy car. I've never wanted a big flash house, really fancy gaff somewhere. Um, Never cared about design or business suits and all this stuff. Didn't really give much thought to what career I'd have, and I know autistic people who are quite indifferent to a lot of things. So I get excited. So yeah, sure, I suppose. I guess that's why it gets mistaken for schizoid personality disorder a lot because you got a very flat affect. And I can be very excited and very, talkative and enjoy life, but I've also gone away big time from who I was, and I speak about this on this channel a lot, but I don't really know who I am because I thought to myself that's not acceptable. Who I am is fundamentally flawed, and I'm not allowed to be that person. You know what I mean? Um, so I've tried to be something else, tried to be more loud and outspoken and pretend like I give a shit about stuff. So much so that I even convince myself I do, and then I look back and I think I don't actually give a fuck about that. But you know what I mean? It's mad. I would probably just sit there, not be bothered by anything. But I've been made to feel like I should care about stuff. So it's like, oh yeah, yeah. If say if my mom says, for instance, oh my God, the way that person spoke to you, I was like, yeah. And they're like, oh, I'd never talk to them again if they spoke to you like that. It's like, what do you mean? And I won't see anything wrong with it. I'm kind of indifferent to it. Other people feel offended by stuff. And then I think, should I be offended by that as well? Where people say stuff and it used to happen in school. And I just finished making a video about autism and bullying. And I wouldn't give a shit what the person was saying. And it's just words, but everybody be going, "Oh, are you going to take that down? Do you know what do you hear what he's saying about you and all this? That lad over there is saying this," and I'm like, "Oh, but are people going to think less of me if I don't attack this guy?" You know what I mean? Whereas personally, I couldn't give a fuck. If you're not physically doing anything to me, I couldn't really care less. But I start thinking I have to pretend to care, or else people are going to take advantage of me and think less of me. Um, and it all kind of stemmed from my parents, really. I wanted to make them happy and think that they didn't have some freak for a son, you know. And everybody kept trying to push me into this mold that I didn't want to go into. So much so that I've broken who I was, I think, and kind of fragmented. It'd be nice to get back to knowing who the hell I am and what I'm all about, because sometimes I feel like a jack of all trades and a master of none. And the reason for that, I think, is because I'm trying to fit other people's mold of what they think I should be and not being myself, which I haven't been for a long time. I can't even tell you what my true self is because I've broken it. Because I'm afraid of indifference. I don't care about a lot of things. I'm not phased by a lot of stuff. But then I feel like, oh, I should be. Everybody else is getting angry. So I should get angry. Everybody else is pissed off. I should be pissed off. The only time I get pissed off is when I just wanted to be left alone and people kept bothering me, which happened all the fucking time, let me tell you. Um, but look, I think it's good to get into this and I'll comment on it as I go along. But I just want to show you and show that, you're not alone if you are autistic and indifferent, but also that I'm not alone. So we get into it now. I'm going to share it with you. So someone asks here, we'll just put that up. My brother absolutely loves Reddit, by the way. Me, hmm, I'm indifferent. I don't mind it. Sometimes there's interesting stuff up there. Let you make your own mind up. So here we go. So Otter Whiskers, 3 years ago, asks, is it common to feel constant indifference? And I like the way they've started off because I understand it's very difficult to explain. They say, discussion, this is hard to explain. I talked to my partner about this. He said that everyone thinks about similar goals to achieve as an adult: driving license, a job, a house, to live separately of your parents. It's a bit funny worded, but you know what I mean. A house where you've moved out of your parents' house and you're living separately, on your own, independently, I should say. Like if everyone had some kind of unwritten collective goal because their age necessities and when becoming an adult is independence. It's a little bit hard to follow, but I get the gist of it and I like the point that they're making. It's just a bit funny worded, but I completely agree. Like when I was shown, was talking about Gen Z Armageddon, and I was talking about the movie Kids and the nostalgia that you felt with it. Again, a 1995 movie. It gets you into a tricky discussion when you're saying to your family that you're watching Kids on the laptop. It's an 18 plus film because there's a lot of um, graphic nudity and there's violence in it and drug use and everything. But I remember feeling this constant pressure to have all these sexual experiences as a kid, and I didn't really care. I wanted to kind of meet someone, my dream woman. We have all these fantasies, and I think social media has definitely amplified that. But I would slip off into dreamland every day and pretend I was doing different things, like because being me was kind of hard. I'd say I'm indifferent to stuff, but oftentimes I wished I could care as much about certain things as other people did, or at least they appeared to care quite a bit. Now they probably look at me and some of them probably think I wish I cared as much as Dan does. Little do they know half the time I'm faking it. But I know exactly what they're saying. Like, I've never cared about driving. And now that I have to, I am. But I always thought I don't really care. I can walk to and from where I need to get to, or I can get a bus or the Lewis, the train. It means speed, FYI, gets you there fast. Well, public transport in Ireland is anything to go by. It won't get you there very fast. There'll probably be delays and you'll be late for work. So the name doesn't fit the purpose. But yeah, so what Otter Whiskers is saying here is that people have all these unwritten goals that everybody's trying to achieve. Definitely know exactly what you're talking about. And I want your guys' opinion on it as well. But we'll carry on. I don't feel like these rules apply to me though, or this applies to me. I do what I'm supposed to, but I don't think about it as a goal. Or I don't think, yeah, it's not a goal to you, basically. You just do it, you're going through the motions. If somehow I need to find a house and live on my own, I would. If I need a driving license to work, I would. But not because I want to do it, but because I am told to, and I need to follow it if I have to fit in society. Just going to read it carefully. But I just feel numb about these things. I don't care about doing it, and it doesn't feel good if I achieve them. Unlike many who celebrate all those things and feel like improving with that, I just do things because I am told to if I need to survive. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, because I feel exactly the same. You've actually, are we related? Or is there something going on here? A little bit of juju between us? I know exactly how you feel. And actually, that reminded me of an interesting conversation I had before. Um, so straight out of school, and I talked about just on previous videos that I never gave myself a minute to think because our brains, when they start thinking, can stop us from doing anything. So I felt like stay on the revolving wheel, just keep giving yourself energy drinks, caffeine, never stop for a minute because if you do, you'll stop doing goal oriented behavior. I didn't really know why I was doing half the shit I was, but my dad seemed to like the idea of me going into a trade. So I started on a construction site doing a job, and then it became unfeasible to do the job because it was terribly laid out. I was 18, just out of school, and as I've talked about this before, but basically I had to travel 2.5 hours each way, which was a lot of fun. Got in trouble for being late, but I was supposed to be getting a lift with a lad that was working on the same site. Like I said to my dad, he was like, "Oh yeah, I got you a summer job," and I was like, "Yeah, but dad, I have to be there for 6 o'clock in the morning. Unless I get a lift, I'm not making it in because the buses don't run until half six. I'd be there at 9 o'clock, and the fellas would be going mental at me." My dad tends to not plan things out well. He goes, "Oh, just do it. It'll be grand." Real Irish dad. It'll be grand, and it never fucking is grand. Tip for anyone, and I'm guilty of doing this myself. And I know this because I do it myself. If an Irish person ever tells you it'll be grand, know that it definitely will not be fucking grand. But I remember getting back from that site covered in dust, like cement dust, fucking knackered. I was just slumped over by the fireplace, on the couch by the fireplace. Wasn't just about to stick my head in the fire, but I was there like this, dead. And I remember my mom looking at me saying, "You are grey, like you look dead, dead, dead." When she said, "You look miserable." And then my dad was there saying, "Oh, he'll be fine. You want to do this, don't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." Um, I was just exhausted. And my mom said, "What do you really want?" And my dad was like, "What do you want to do? I'm not apologizing for, showing an interest or caring about you. What do you want? Come on, tell us." And I was being bombarded one way and the other. My dad said, "Get a trade." My mom said, "Go to college." And it felt like if I picked either of those two, they would stay off my back. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't feel like a loser either because I was doing it to keep them happy. So like you're saying there, otter whiskers. I love otters, by the way. Really cute. Members of the weasel family. Aquatic weasels. Interest. But yeah, can you tell I wanted to study marine biology? That was my initial goal. But I kind of gave up on that. I didn't know what I wanted. And I thought to myself, well, mom's happy with college, dad's happy with trade. I've tried the trade out, don't really like that. Go to the college open day, college is free. We'll pick this option. So that's what I did. I went, and it seemed that everybody was happy with me doing that because I'd made a decision. I was sorting the rest of my life out. I had a part time job. I was playing rugby. I was at training. I was doing all this stuff, bombarding myself with things to do every day. So everybody was off my back, and that was kind of why I did everything. Get people off my back. Oh, when are you going to start driving? You should start driving. Well, I'll get you lessons for your birthday. I don't want lessons for my birthday. I don't want you wasting your money because I have a public services car and I get free transport. So there's no point in you wasting money on a car. And people throw money at all these things to make themselves look good, and I don't really care. It doesn't really bother me. Only time it really bothered me is when I was trying to fit into a friend group and wanted the nicest shoes, the latest shoes that everybody else was getting. Anything really, Air Max 90s, free runs, they were the big ones, but like it had changed so often. The kind of eternal shoes were Vans and Converse. I love those two as well. Converse more so, I always was a big fan of them, but they're kind of eternal. They'll never go out of style. Want to get another pair of Converse actually because lovely shoes. But yeah, like you say there, you're just doing it because you want to survive. You don't feel a goal. There's no goal behind it. And I got so good at it. Like I was in the gym in the morning, pushing myself to the max, That's why I had to take so many energy drinks because I didn't want to. Everything was telling me to sit in bed and do nothing, but I didn't want to be a loser. I didn't want to be labeled as a waster. You've always got to be doing something, or you're a nobody. You're pathetic. Yeah. Well, as we get to it here, Otter Whiskers, you say it would affect you. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Here you go. My partner has often felt annoyed about my constant indifference towards life and any decisions I take, because sometimes it leads to others taking benefits on me while I don't realize. I would imagine there what you're saying is taking advantage of you. And I can imagine, because you think to yourself, one thing that I also looked up before this when I was typing in indifference was indecisiveness. So I imagine if you can't make decisions, other people try and make them for you. That's why I get very paranoid nowadays. My default is to assume that people are out to get me. And then I find out, oh, maybe they're not. And then it's like, okay, but I'm on my guard initially with people unless they prove me wrong. I hope that makes sense. And if they do, I'm like, at least I wasn't fucked over or taken advantage of. So yeah, you're saying here that your partner feels annoyed because you're indifferent, you don't really care. You're like, meh, you want to go here? Maybe, yeah, why not? Any decisions I take, because sometimes it leads to others taking advantage of me while I don't realize. So people are taking stuff from you, and you're just like, oh, were they? I didn't even realize. I wondered if this was a common thing or if it's something apart from autism. And you say there, so fair play. I apologize about any confusion or grammar mistake I make or made. Oh, I fucked up. No problem at all. I think it's easy enough to follow. I think you can work it out for yourself. But yeah, I know what you mean, because as I start getting more interested in the opposite sex, I kind of my sympathies go out to women, and I'm like, what woman wants to be with a man who is indifferent to life? You know what I mean? And I imagine you're talking about your partner, and he said this, and so I imagine you're a woman. Now, you could be same sex, I don't know. Don't judge either way. But yeah, I don't really know. I think I think it's often been nowadays women are ambitious as well, but I think it's often been a thing associated with a man. Women want a man generally, like this is just a rule of thumb, but women want a man who's ambitious because that shows that he can provide for them. Typically, I mean, each to their own, and if it works for you, it works. So be it. But I was acutely aware that as an autistic person, I might be quite flat, and dull. And what woman is going to want a man who doesn't express how much he loves her? Italian style, mi amore, I love you. Hey, va bene. That passionate Mediterranean horny bastard. He sleeps with about 800 different women in a year. And he tells them all the same spiel. I love you, I love, and they all fucking fall for it. Paolo Macchiarini, the bad surgeon, literally putting in a PVC pipe into people's throats, and then it was rotting away. And your mum was absolutely enthralled by him. She loved him and couldn't see all the bullshit going on. Just that passionate type of "I love you, my love," and we'll sail off to the Caribbean together and all this stuff. Don't expect that type of talk with an autistic partner. Set your standards a bit lower. Now maybe you might get it, but I don't think the spontaneity will be there, because we're the type that usually love rules, and so that spontaneity might not be there, and that's something I'm acutely aware of. So I try to compensate for that and be, outgoing and funny, but it is hard. We tend to like a more rule based system and structured approach. So if you're predictable all the time, it's not a very romantic quality, is it? And believe me, I'm aware of that. Then we get to Jumping Jade, Jackalope. I was only thinking of Jackalopes the other day. Anyone remember that short little cartoon? It was in Ratatouille, I think, before when they used to have little cartoons. The jackalope, the poor sheep turns up and he gets sheared, and then the jackalope comes along, and the sheep was happy with his big, nice woolly coat before he got sheared. And then the jackalope says, "I'm going to teach you how to bounce." Bound, bound, bound and rebound. um, One leg up, slap it on down. You find the truth. And I'm rambling here. Jackalope is basically like it's like a hare with antlers. It's a mythical creature. You just got me thinking, and I get very easily sidetracked. You say here, jumping jade, jackalope. This is how I feel when I'm completely burned out. Sad face. Have you always felt numb, or did it start in adulthood? Good question. And Otter Whiskers, you say, I understand, I'm not sure. I don't know if always. I have a terrible memory, but I believe that as far as when I was 15, I have been like this, uninterested. I can't remember anything further, so no, it didn't start in adulthood. I had this feeling from before. Yeah, and I remember that as well. I felt the same. I just couldn't get excited for things. People were a lot louder and more ambitious sounding than me. And sometimes I was like, oh, could you just shut up? And people were like, oh, well, what are you interested in then? What's your big plan for your life? Dude, you do nothing, what are you so angry about? I was like, just shut up, I don't want to hear it. But people just say, oh, you're just being a miserable fuck, which maybe I was, but I'm sick of people going on about all the things they want to do with their life, and I couldn't think about getting out of bed in the morning. And this started from a young age. Now, I was diagnosed with clinical depression, so there definitely could be that. But it seems like there's a few people here who relate to the whole apathetic, indifferent, autistic thing. Hachikuchi. Hachikuchi. Are you Japanese by any chance? Patrick actually the Aztec leader, meant to be a bit of a bastard. Sorry, just reading this side note here. The rules of Reddit. So Hachikuchi, you say, I feel completely apathetic also, though I also have depression. I understand what you mean though. There were so many things I did in the past only because I thought I was supposed to. I only ever went to college for that reason. There we are. And as far as I was going from childhood to adulthood, I didn't have authority breathing down my neck. It started to dawn on me I had no real interest or reason to do it. I don't really have any meaningful goals whatsoever. I basically just live one day at a time. Yeah, and that's exactly what I was saying there. It's like, what now? I just thought, right, go to college, everybody be off your back. Get a good job, everybody be off your back. Do that for the rest of your life. Everybody be off your back. You know what I mean? It was always, well, what would make my family happy? Because the way I am, kind of indifferent, just sitting by myself doing things with action figures and whatever, watching different sports on the TV or going to training, and it's not enough. You got to have ambition, you got to strive for more, and you can't fake it. You know what I mean? For your whole life, it's going to catch up eventually. It's no wonder it's so exhausting because I was trying to be somebody else, someone who was macho and had all these rules and was not to be messed with. But that's not really me. Someone who is passionate about sport, and loves Arnold Schwarzenegger magazines and pretending to be a man's man because that's acceptable, getting a manly job. But then I find I don't really want this. Everybody here is fucking miserable on construction sites, so I don't really want to be doing this. I'd be fucking depressed. So I go to college for a few years, at least get people off my back for a good 4 years. Geez, I did well enough. I managed to get the degree. And somehow, even with all the shit going on in the background, all while being very indifferent, it was quite draining. And then you go on to say Hachikuchi. I guess it's hard to draw the line between things that, because I grew up unknowingly autistic, I only did because everyone else did, and things that, because I am depressed, I am apathetic about, despite being something I'm interested in. Like, I think I am into art, but because other people are into art, I can't tell if I like it or because other people do. Right, so you're kind of trying to differentiate between you didn't know you were autistic, so have you always been indifferent? But when you found out you were autistic, do you think that maybe you attach the autism to indifference? That's kind of what I'm hearing there, um, or reading. But then you're also trying to decipher, was it the depression that made you apathetic? Because that can definitely happen. You lose interest in things that once made you happy. Yeah, and obviously, Otter Whiskers, you found that helpful. This is exactly what I tried to explain, and your experiences matches with mine completely. Your comment is very helpful, and that's just the auto moderator. I'm the moderator. I'm the moderator. Within no tap H. Okay, this sounds like depression to me. Yeah, I got the same impression as well. Um, but as Otter Whiskers goes on, I suspected that at first too. But my partner has depression and still has those goals. And it's not the first depressed person I have met to at least have interest in their life decisions. Yeah, so basically, what you're saying is people can still have goals when they're depressed. It's just much harder to reach them because everything is slowed down. Remember, I talked about the wheel going around? That's mania, and then depression, mania, depression. Now, this was used in an aware talk by Dr. Patrick McKeown, and I thought it was a really good example. He was talking about bipolar disorder, but I think it can apply to life in general. Definitely, like if you've got severe enough depression, you can be quite apathetic and it can be hard to even get out of bed, never mind set goals. With the autistic indifference, see, I just find that people had to tell me what to do. I could never decide for myself and see what the norm is, fit into the norm, achieve things that normal people are doing. So for me, it was graduate school, go to my debs, um, debutante ball, aka the prom, if you're American. But it was like having pictures of me going to my debs. I didn't even necessarily give a shit if I had a good time, but it was to show people, oh, look, I went as well. I'm normal, if that makes sense. Winning a rugby award at my graduation for Player of the Year. Look at me, I can do normal things as well. I graduated college. Look at me, I'm a tiger. I can do normal things just like everybody else. Get my driver's license. I'm just normal like you. I can be one of the lads. I can fit into everything. I can do what everybody else is doing. Just so people don't think of me as a fucking freak or something. I'm finally normal. That's a very interesting point. That's it, yeah. Right. Yeah, that is very interesting. I like that one. I really like that question now, I have to say. All right, anyway, we won't get lost in a rabbit hole. with that. So it's such a difficult thing to even discuss because it's indifference, like so it's real meh. But I guess there's not care and not giving a shit, right? Which is what indifference is technically. I'm indifferent. I'm not angry. I'm not sad. I'm indifferent. I couldn't care less. And I mean, if I was just left alone, I probably wouldn't have cared less ever. Because some people sit an autistic kid in the corner and go, "Ah, he's fine, leave him off." So they're indifferent and they never become different. For me, seeing my parents being upset by me not achieving goals that other kids were achieving, that upset me, and then I went from being indifferent to trying to give a fuck. You want to care. Oh yes, I want to go on my debs. I want to go to the gym like normal kids do. I want to get big and strong like other kids do. I want to make the rugby team, which I never had an issue doing because I was good at the sport and I trained really hard at it. But I want mates. I want people who I go off with and get in trouble. Because young fellas get in trouble, they're mischievous. But I remember sitting with a group of young fellas before, and they were all thinking it was cool to get in trouble at a local McDonald's, getting kicked out. It was like, you're a hard man. You're cool. You know what I mean? I was like, fuck this. I'm getting something to eat. I even said it to one of the guys before. I'm not barred though, right? They're barred, but not me. Because sometimes they were literally sitting around just to get in trouble. That was the goal. Get kicked out. Great goal. And I was like, I'm fucking eating. I'm going up and getting myself something to eat because I was working at the time, so I actually had money, so I could actually buy something. Like, you lot can fuck off then. I'm gonna get something. So and I felt that's actually a weird one, but I felt like the urge to get in trouble, even though that's not who I am. I probably would have been a very good boy and followed all the rules, but I wanted to be like everybody else so much, to be normal, to be seen as one of the cool kids, that I got in trouble and I started being a bit of a bad boy, my bad boy phase. Oh, but it was awkward as fuck at first. Just to have a bit of a personality. I felt like I didn't have any personality, so I adopted one, if you like. And I lived through that. That was kind of who I pretended to be, which is weird, isn't it? It's kind of sad, really, where you don't have your own self. But I guess I don't. I never really did. Think I'm finally starting to get it now, though, because I've had so many experiences. I can kind of pick and choose from all them. Um, but it is exhausting not knowing your own mind. It really is. And I hope that kind of clarified it. And please, please, this is one I really want to hear from anyone. Not even if you're autistic, if you feel like this describes you, let me know down below because I'd love to hear about it. But yeah, I feel like that's a good place to end it, guys. Just thought I'd make a video on that, a long one, because it's something that I was kind of like, Eureka, I'm not alone, you know. Randomly adventures. I want you to comment down because you've started leaving a few good comments, and I appreciate it. Leah G 8010, you as well. Once your crispy brains sort themselves out. Sean EK as well. Um, we had a good chat, Shawnee, about the young fella, your mate's young fella, him being autistic. And if you ever see that, if there's anything you've spotted there, if the young fella's indifferent, did you ever notice it? I'd love to hear it as well, Shawnee. We always have good chats. Greg, if you notice anything about it, Greg, please let me know. Anyone, really. But in particular, I'd like to hear autistic people and those who are relatives of autistic people. If you see it, the indifference, leave it down below because I don't feel like this gets talked about nearly enough. You can't even find that many videos on it, and I feel like it affects a lot more people. It looks like you're being lazy. It looks like you don't give a shit. You want to. And I think a lot of autistic people want to give a shit. They want to be passionate about stuff, but there's just something lacking. there's something lacking in you. Probably could have said it less harsh, but I could see people getting up for a rugby game and being hungry for it, being passionate, and I was like, okay, I'm just going through the motions because it's what I'm good at. It's what people praise me for. But I want to stay in bed. I don't want to travel all the way out here for the game. I couldn't be arsed, you know. I hate traveling for games. I hate going to some cold stadium to play some game out in the arsehole of nowhere, some little kippy club in the arsehole of Meath or Westmeath, wherever the fuck. Um, or Offaly, Midlands going out to play a game on some miserable cold day. It was always, I'm just giving the examples because it was always a club out in the Midlands and you could never find the kip. You could never find it. It was never in the area it was supposed to be in. And lots of people say they love traveling and all for games, and I was like, no, not fucking chance. It's something I don't miss about rugby. Not playing it regularly. Um, but I pretended, yeah, I'm so up for the game. I can't wait. I'm just passionate about the game. Partially true, but I certainly am not one who loves traveling around a lot. I've done it, but it's exhausting. Fake it till you make it, as they say. But anyway, guys, I think I'll leave it on that. Hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think, and as you say, share anything you have down below. All right, I have to get better at my hand signals. See you in the next one. Slán go